haven't subscribed to the channel yet, subscribe now. We have new stories every day. Now, let's go. My wife cheated on me at her friend's wedding. I'm Tom, a 36-year-old guy who thought I had a good marriage. My wife, Luna, and I have been married for about 4 years. We don't have any kids, but we have a nice little life together. Or so I thought. Things have been pretty good until a few months ago when something changed. It all started with her friend's wedding. I didn't really want to go to the wedding since I barely knew the people involved. They were mostly her work acquaintances, and I had only met them a couple of times at those boring office parties. Luna insisted she was close with the bride and that she couldn't miss it, so she went alone while I stayed behind. That was the last time things felt normal in our marriage. Luna came back from that wedding acting completely different. At first, I thought it was just stress. She was quieter than usual, a little distant, and seemed tired all the time. But what really threw me off was how she avoided being intimate. I would try to get close to her, but she either made excuses or just wasn't interested. I wasn't the type to push things, but it didn't take long before I realized something was seriously wrong. I started asking her what was going on, but she kept brushing me off with vague answers about work stress or being tired from the trip. The thing is, it's been over a month, and she's still distant. We've only been intimate twice since the wedding, and both times it felt forced. It was like she was only doing it because I initiated, and that just made things worse. I'll admit, I started feeling paranoid. I'd been reading a lot of stories about cheating and infidelity online, and suddenly, all of those red flags started making sense. But I didn't want to accuse her without any proof. I checked her phone when she wasn't looking, her laptop, anything I could think of, but there was nothing there. No suspicious messages, no weird apps, nothing. The weeks turned into months, and nothing changed. Luna's mood swings were all over the place. One moment, she would act like things were normal, but then she'd go back to being cold and distant. I felt like I was losing my mind trying to figure out what was going on. I even asked some of my friends for advice, but they all told me to give it time and that it was probably just a phase. So I tried to let it go, focused on my work, and waited for things to blow over. Then came her office's annual function, which happens every November just before Thanksgiving. Normally, I go with her to these events, and she enjoys showing me off to her colleagues. But this year, she didn't seem all that excited about me going. I kept asking her if we had gotten the invitation yet, and she would just say, "Not yet, it hasn't come in." A couple of days before the event, she finally told me the venue and the dress code like it was no big deal. That set off more alarm bells. I checked the email, and it turns out the invitation had come in weeks ago. Why would she lie about that? Was she planning on going without me? We went to the party, and at first, everything seemed normal. Luna was friendly enough, her colleagues were polite, and nobody gave me any weird vibes. But she acted a little too cautious, staying by my side the whole night instead of mingling like she usually did. I've seen her at these events before. She loves chatting with her senior colleagues while I talk to other people. But this time, it was like she didn't want me to be alone with anyone. Then it happened. The husband of the friend who got married, the same one whose wedding Luna went to alone, was there. He had a few too many drinks, and in his drunken state, he blurted out something that made my blood run cold. "Oh man, you should have been at our wedding. Your wife was incredible. Dancing, twerking, having a blast. My buddies couldn't stop staring at her. Even my best man is still asking for her number." Before I could react, Luna stepped in, trying to laugh it off. She interrupted him multiple times, trying to change the subject. But the damage was done. Even her friend's husband, who was too drunk to realize what he was saying, noticed Luna's attempts to cover things up. His wife came over and dragged him away, clearly embarrassed by what he had said. I stood there, completely stunned. Luna looked at me, gave a nervous laugh, and said, "Can you believe him? He's so wasted. He doesn't know what he's talking about." But I wasn't buying it. That was too specific to be made up, especially given how strange she had been acting for months. The next day, I couldn't take it anymore. I asked Luna directly if she had cheated on me at the wedding. She gaslit me again, saying I was overreacting, and that I was just being paranoid. I wasn't letting it go this time. I grabbed her phone, and even though she tried to stop me, I managed to see some of her texts. There it was, a conversation between Luna and her friend where she scolded her for letting her husband almost blow everything. Luna tried to explain it away, saying her friend's husband was just drunk and messing around. But I wasn't having it. After hours of dodging my questions and playing the victim, Luna finally admitted it. I was drunk, and it was just a one-time thing, she said, tears streaming down her face. It was the groomsman. He made a move, and I couldn't resist. I'm so sorry, Tom. I felt like someone had ripped my heart out. I slammed my fist on the table, hurting myself in the process. It wasn't just the fact that she had cheated. It was the months of lies and manipulation that followed. If she really felt guilty, why hadn't she tried to fix things? Why hadn't she come clean sooner? I couldn't look at her. I grabbed my phone, my iPad, and a few clothes, and I left. She didn't call or text me that night, but 2 days later, she messaged me asking where I was and how long it would take for me to cool down. The nerve of her to guilt-trip me like that after what she did. I stayed with a friend for a few days, trying to wrap my head around everything. I was still in shock, and part of me wanted to understand why she did it. My friend suggested I reach out to the husband who had spilled the beans at the office party to see if I could get more information. So I did. I found him on social media and messaged him, asking if we could meet. At first, he tried to downplay everything, saying he had been drunk and I shouldn't take it seriously. But when I told him Luna had already confessed, he agreed to meet and tell me the whole story. It turns out my wife had cheated on me multiple times during that wedding weekend. It wasn't just a one-night drunken mistake like she claimed. She had been hooking up with the groomsmen throughout the entire event. They danced together, flirted, and even skipped some of the wedding functions to be alone in his hotel room. According to the husband, their behavior was so obvious that most of the guests thought they were a couple. When I heard that, something inside me snapped. I realized I had been living with a stranger for years. Luna had lied to me about who she was, and even after being caught, she only told me a fraction of the truth. That was it for me. There was no way I could stay with someone like that. I packed the rest of my things and moved out of our house. While Luna was at work, I left her a note saying that I would be filing for divorce. Would she receive the divorce papers? She texted me, begging to meet up and talk. The end of it. We met in a public place, and Luna had clearly been crying. She tried one last time to plead for another chance, but I wasn't interested. I told her I knew about the multiple hookups and that I might have forgiven her if she had been honest from the start. But she hadn't been. She had lied to my face for months, and even when the truth came out, she still tried to twist it. She started sobbing, telling me she had quit her job because everyone at work had found out about her affair, and now they were all gossiping about her. She said she was miserable and begged for my forgiveness. But it was too late. I told her we needed to part ways for good. A few days later, she signed the divorce papers, and I moved back into the house. But being there felt like torture. The memories, the furniture, everything reminded me of the life I thought we had together, one that was built on lies. I'm still in the process of moving out, trying to start fresh somewhere else. Living alone is hard, but it's better than staying in the toxic environment I was in before. I don't know if I'll ever fully recover from this, but I'm hopeful that one day I will. Comments from readers. Reader, man, that's rough. It's one thing to cheat, but to drag you along for months and lie to your face like that. Good riddance, Tom. You deserve better. Reader, I can't even imagine how much it must have hurt to find out it wasn't just a one-time mistake. People like her are toxic. Glad you're out of that. Reader, I've been through something similar. The lies hurt way more than the actual cheating. Stay strong, brother. You'll get through this. Reader, her guilt should have made her confess, not act like you were the problem for suspecting. Classic gaslighting. She's a master manipulator. Reader, good thing you reached out to that guy and got the full story. Always trust your gut when something feels off.